it's like retroactive or some other word that means something right with Lesbian Talk in the background of Lesbian Talk. Oh my god, what's going on?
Recursive?
Yes, it's recursive Lesbian Talk.
Oh my god, dog, I heard you like lesbians in your Oh, that's terrible. Never mind. Stop it now.
Let's hear what our first thing we say is. Any bet it's going to be something really crap.
This was just last episode.
Still, the crap.
I said something.
What do we say?
Hello, everybody. See? I was the one that talked.
You said, hello everybody.
Yeah, because you usually like howl or something.
You are so interesting.
I need to fix our intro. I need to do a new one with like pictures of me having lost weight. Because people watch it and they'll be like, who is this? And I'll be like, oh sorry, I'm less fat now.
Welcome to episode 115, and guess what I found out today?
What?
A new episode of This Exists went up.
Nice.
It's about political video games.
You should totally watch This Exists. He makes longer episodes now, so don't come out as frequently, but it's still like, what was the one? Was like death metal? There was the death metal surfcore. Black
metal and surf music, surf rock being basically the same. You had one black metal tourism, Christian black metal. He does
a lot of music ones because he's a musician, but
yeah, he does. Basically, it's really mini documentaries-ish things with a hipster version of Apollo Z Hack.
He's not a hipster. Where are you getting hipster from?
I'm getting hipster from him.
No,
I'm not complaining,
he's just
though.
Young.
He's good.
I don't think he's a hipster. He's just young. Well, not young, but he's in his 20s, it looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I follow him on Twitter, so your man, if you're listening, watch the show. If you're listening, rate the show.
Yes.
I'm tired. But anyway, so how have you been, audience, internet? How was your week?
At least some of you have been Germans. You know who you are.
What is your... Like, sometimes I'll just be like, hey, did you do the dishes? Because I can if you didn't. Germans. What? She'll just say, like, Germans, and, like, I don't know where this came from. Like, we know some Germans. There's no such thing.
It's a real thing. It's German Tourette's.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I looked it up. It's on the internet, although it might actually just describe Germans who have Tourette's.
I reckon that's the case. You offended them now.
The max.
Do you know what happened today? All right, I forgot to tell you this, so I can tell you it during the show. No, so I was standing at the till, and it was a really... See, we've had a week of warm, sunny weather in Ireland, and no one knows how to cope, and we have another one forecasted before things go back to normal, like it being in the mid-50s and raining all the time. So it's been really dead at the shop, because everyone's been, up in Buncrana or, nicer places than in the center. But so we were standing around, me and my mate, and I said to him, because someone had just come and bought the Daily Mail, and I said, I'm kind of surprised that the Daily Mail don't have their own, like, Fox News kind of thing, kind of carry on. And he's like, well, it's really hard to get a news thing started. I'm like, yeah, but, I'm sure with the clout of the Daily Mail, they could. I was like, oh, they could call it ONN, Outrage News Network. And then, like, their morning show could be, like, The Morning Offense. Or the Morning Outrage. That would be really good. Sorry, that's just a thing that...
An evening show, The Daily Hate.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't even remember what they were whinging about this morning. I think they were whinging about... They said that some BBC person said something against Prince Harry. I don't even know. It's really telling because the Irish Daily Mail will have a completely different outrageous headline targeted at, I guess, outraging Irish conservatives.
Yeah.
Because one will be like, and things and stuff, they're trying to stop Brexit. But then the Irish one will be like, Kai, can you believe what the Guard has done this week? And I'm like, you're not fooling anyone.
So
oh dear.
Last night, I watched my first Andy Sedaris film because I, for literally years, have had this box set of the Girls, Guns, and G-Strings collection. All the Andy... Is that
one of the ones that you bought at Walmart?
Yeah. And so I watched, at random, Hard Ticket to Hawaii from 1987. A Hawaiian drug kingpin plans to flood the islands with narcotics all financed by illegal diamond shipments to his private retreat. When his henchmen kill 2 DEA agents who are trying to stop the drug lord, the agency sends 2 of its best agents to break up the drug room and take out the leader.
Actually, like, if what I hear is true, like, the parts of Hawaii that, like, aren't the suburbs or, like, the resorts, there is a big drug problem. So, He won in the end.
Yeah, well, this guy, the same director has things like Savage Beach and Return to Savage Beach. Basically, you've got half-naked women usually who are in Penthouse or Playboy shooting guns and killing people with ninja skills. It is awesome. That when the guy actually uses a bazooka to blow up a sex doll.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just saying.
We must watch these, honey, together. Choose a random one. Okay.
Well, by the way, you didn't see this because you're not on Facebook, but Teddy the Minion asks if anybody is interested in going Tuesday night to see that movie, The Journey.
I like.
I have 100% zero interest in this. If you want to go, you can, but I'm like.
I thought he was going on the cruise on not Tuesday night.
It's on Facebook.
Right.
But anyway, sorry, audience. If you want to join Teddy the Minion and go to see The Journey on Tuesday night, it's half off night. So. No, but you know what we were talking about today at work though. Which is
Minion?
No, like fan theories and stuff like that.
Oh, yes.
Just real, like, the thing is, my job, we're all big nerds, and we all stand about talking. Like, I have a supervisor who basically will come over while I'm doing something, and then stand there chatting to me about, like, Marvel for 10 minutes.
In between being really, really angry about things that are stupid.
Oh, well. Sometimes people have views, and if they're your superiors at work, you have to just tactfully ignore those views.
Well, everywhere but work, he is your inferior. He's your inferior everywhere but work.
He's taller than me.
Okay, inferior.
But in height and age, he is superior. By the definition of the word.
Nope.
Well, whatever. But anyway.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Okay, Adam Savage, you're well within your rights.
I was quoting The Dungeon Master, the 1980s film that he got the thing from.
Well, Adam Savage made it famous, so I don't know what
Are you trying to say The Dungeon Master is not famous? So, in fact, are you saying it's so not famous that I might actually got the name of the film wrong?
Probably. No, but so we were all standing around just doing absolutely nothing. And so we have okay, if anyone understands these, please comment below. I think it must be one of those things that I'm just too old for. So there's these little Disney things, and they look like little plushies, but they're like Disney characters if they were plushy hamsters. And I've seen these things, like we have little thingies, and there's like coloring books, and they're on like backpacks and everything, and it's called Tsum Tsum, Tsum, Tsum. And I don't know if it's a Japanese thing, or if it's Disney pretending it's a Japanese thing. I've no clue, but they're really popular. If you understand it, comment below. And so I was saying to two of my coaches, like, what are these things? And, the one girl goes, well, I think that they're to, wipe off your cell phone, your smartphone, your tablet. Like, that's originally what they were for, but now they're collectibles. So both me and the other guy took out our cell phones and, scrubbed it. And I'm like, well, I guess it kind of works. I'm like, what is this? What character is this? Because the guy had one of the 7 dwarfs. And the girl says, oh, I think that's the evil prince from Frozen.
Oh, okay.
And so we started, talking about Frozen. And I shared one of my favorite tweets about Frozen. It comes from Onoshi Twitten, who you should really follow on Twitter because she's hilarious. And it was a picture of a Frozen birthday card. And it had the whole cast on it. And like, happy birthday. But it also had the evil prince, the bad guy. And so she tweeted like, happy birthday from all of us, including this guy who tried to kill us, I guess. And so she was
isn't it like a twist that he's the villain? So that maybe they're being all like, we don't want to spoil the twist.
Yeah, but honey, this was like about a year or two ago. Frozen came out several years ago.
Oh, I know it did, but maybe that's what they were going for.
I guess it's just like, happy birthday from Arendelle, and also this guy that tried to murder us, so yeah. But so then we started talking about Frozen, and the girl said, well, what about that fan theory that you came up with that Elsa and Anna's parents are also Tarzan's parents? Like, no, I didn't come up with that. Like, that's actually, like, a writer at Disney confirmed, according to official Disney canon, they're also Tarzan's parents. It's real canon, yeah.
Then how can Tarzan be Lord Greystoke? He comes from English nobility.
See, that was like, what brought up the fan theory thing with me, because I'm like, because here's the thing. I was like, so, suppose, because I never actually saw Disney's Tarzan, so I'm wondering, like, does he go back to England with Jane in the end, or do they stay in Africa?
I'm not sure about the books, but there's definitely films where he did.
Okay. So, like...
In fact, the new Tarzan live-action one came in, he starts off with him in England, then he goes back to the jungle.
Oh. Because, like I said, this is only useful as, official fan theory become canon if there's a crossover. And I'm like, but then that's weird, because I always got the opinion... I was struck by the idea that Arendelle and the countries nearby, like the 7 islands and all those other ones, like, don't exist. So then, like... the ambassador from England shows up with her husband, and they're like, brother, because they'll know somehow, because Elsa's a mage, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, so basically, like, England exists, but I don't even know.
Well, you could get some sort of Disney Avengers type situation,
Yes.
but in many ways, Disneyland already is that.
Yeah, that's true. Although, you know what I was thinking, though? Because I have seen Frozen. I watched it before. We had this event at Barnes & Noble, and the lead, who was in charge of it, she was into cosplay, so she had, like, a perfect Anna cosplay already. And she was into singing. She was just a really great person. She put so much energy into this. And she told me, you can't come to this event if you haven't watched Frozen. So I was like, all right, I'll watch Frozen. And so, like, here's the thing, right? So about Elsa, right? So, okay, she's a really powerful ice mage. I get that. But, so she created Olaf, right? And she created the big snow monster. Olaf, at least, he's got sentience. He's got free will. Like, he almost sacrifices himself for Anna. Right? She fucking created life. She's not just an ice mage. She's like a deity of creation. She bestowed sentience upon snow.
Plenty of wizards and mages in fiction can do that.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think people are appreciating how fucking powerful she is.
See, I haven't seen Frozen. All I've seen is the
I
saw Frozen Fever, which was right before Cinderella,
for
the
some
live
reason,
action
I thought
one.
that you and Aaron watched it before.
No, we watched Frozen Fever, and I spent the entire time wondering why the two lesbians weren't, having all sorts of PG-rated Disney sex.
Well, actually, I told that story to the girl that I was talking to. It was Fiona, by the way. And I was like, well, because she said, I get the feeling that Disney is getting closer and closer towards having, like, a same-sex couple.
It's just a pity that they're sisters, technically.
Well, because you think about it, like, the whole, like, I don't need a man kind of thing, and then, like, oh, the greatest love is not for, like, your love interest, it's for your family and stuff, and then, like, saying LeFou was kind of gay, and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I'll tell you what, and I told her, your opinions on Frozen. And she was like, oh, that's terrible. I'm like, yeah, I know, but...
It's not terrible, it's pretty clear. It's subtextually there, whether they intended it or not.
I know, it's just like, because I watch this stuff, and then I think about the world building. Like, I asked the lead, who made me watch Frozen, I was like, what religion are they in Arendelle? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, there's like, northern runes, like, in the church, but your man's obviously dressed like a Catholic bishop, and then the ambassador from that other country calls her a witch. So basically, that's a Christian country, because they have the concept of witchcraft. Like, here's the thing, because when the king and queen take their kids to see the trolls don't say, oh, she's a witch, or like, oh, she has magic. So does that mean that Arendelle is not a Christian country? I think about these things. Like, what's your favorite fan theory?
Well, once I come up with myself, I tend to put into episodes of Renegade Con.
That's true. What's the favorite one that you've heard, and you're like, you know what? That's really cool.
That would be the Darth Jar Jar one.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that George Lucas originally intended in episode 2 or 3 to reveal that Jar Jar Binks was actually evil. Because I can totally buy it. They have enough evidence. Yeah. And the fact that George was constantly... There's lots of clips of him in the making of Phantom Menace talking about how Jar Jar is the key to everything. Like, there's going to be some sort of a reveal involving Jar Jar. It's like, yeah, and it was just... He over-egged it too much in the kid-friendliness in order to try and make it shocking later on. But he did too much, and it just, like... He didn't do it.
Well, you know what that's like? That's like a really, really old fan theory that predates the internet. That Gilligan from Gilligan's Island... Well, it's a two-part thing. Like, obviously, okay, if you're young, there used to be a show called Gilligan's Island. Google it, dear. That's why sometimes people will sing a 3-hour tour. But anyway, so for those of you who know what Gilligan's Island is, obviously, it was always Gilligan who was preventing everybody from leaving the island, always accidentally. But there's this fan theory that was kind of like Lost, that the ship sank during the storm. And the people who each represented one of the 7 deadly sins were trapped in hell, and Gilligan was the devil. And I read about that. I was like, I really like that. I think I read that in a magazine, like in high school. I think that's really clever, because my sister was really fond of Gilligan's Island, and it was one of those old TV shows that was in syndication forever, and they would just... they would just run in like several hour-long blocks sometimes. And I just remember we were up in Vermont on vacation one year, and just like that was all that was on from a certain time of the day, like when we were home, like waiting to have dinner. And I really didn't care for Gilligan's Island because after a few episodes, realized what was going on and said they need to kill him. They need to kill him and cannibalize him. And then they will get off the island. It's one of those things that you just have to make an acceptable loss right there. Me, the pragmatist. Let's go Donner Party on Gilligan. Then everybody can just make a pact, swear it never happened. And then in several decades, when all the children are grown up, then you can have a horror show about, like, them figuring out what their parents did to Gilligan.
Now, when you say fan theories, do you include stuff that was arguably intended by the basically, do you include the tinfoil hat stuff like Rob Ager does? Rob Ager.
Oh, is that the guy that goes on and on and on about Kubrick?
Yes.
Well, Kubrick's a tricky
Kubrick was very smart. He was a
he
chess master. He was a photographer for years before he started doing film, and he was heavily spectrum. I can totally believe he would put shit into the
I'm not counting it if it's someone who's known to be a tricksy hobbit. You know what I mean? Like someone who does that, like who fills their stuff with Easter eggs. That doesn't count because they probably did.
Well,
I mean, like
there's a difference between Easter eggs and what Ager suggests Kubrick does. Where his suggestions, like with Kubrick, have you ever seen his stuff? Is it collateral? No. Collative learning. He does these fascinating sort of interpretations of The Shining, and some of them are completely bug-fucking insane. Sort of like The Shining is about the gold standard.
You've adopted me saying bug-fuck. Aww. Yes.
About stuff like The Shining has secretly got elements about being critical of going away from the gold standard, which I think is bullshit. But he's also got stuff like
which was the actual point of the Wizard of Oz, which no one remembers.
Yes, but there's also Google it. He's got ideas where that Jack Torrance might have sexually assaulted his son, or that the thing is about actually supposed to be a microcosm of America and genocide, its genocidal history and stuff like that. Which I can see. I'm not 100% convinced on, but I can see it. But then you've got stuff which is pretty much confirmed, and really yes, like the fact that the Overlook is designed to be a maze and to make no sense spatially. And the producer actually later on admitted this. Yes, it was deliberately designed, and they change objects in between shots. They move things around just to subconsciously make you feel disorientated.
Yeah, that's why I think it shouldn't count, because
But it's Native American stuff. Would that be considered a fan theory?
Yeah, but here's the thing: is like you don't know that he didn't intend that.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about like really like silly, stupid stuff.
Because fan theories, it could be the case that that's what they were intending, and they were just being subtle about it. Like the Darth Jar Jar one, I'm convinced that George Lucas was doing something in that direction.
And someone was like, George, listen, this is a bad plan.
Or
just forget the prequels happened, George. Just take your money and go.
No. The theory is that he would have revealed this in episode 2 or 3.
Oh,
that Jar Jar.
I misunderstood.
Sort of like as a reverse of the "I am your father" thing. You find out that your good friend Jar Jar Binks is actually a Sith Lord.
You thought I was stupid.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, what weak-minded fools you are.
Because remember, what was the thing about Yoda in his first appearance in Empire Strikes Back?
Because like Luke was like, oh, what a wee little thing. Where is Yoda? Oh, Yoda, you say?
Yes.
Wink, wink, wink at the audience.
Because Lucas was constantly trying to make the trilogies reference each other, so it would be an inversion of the Yoda thing.
All right. Like now, all that I can think of are just like famous ones that people always like. It comes up on Reddit once every few months on Ask Reddit. Like, what are your favorite fan theories? And someone always says, like, all the ones that are like just really disproved. Like, SpongeBob and friends are actually mutants living under Bikini Atoll. That's why it's called Bikini Bottom, and they were mutated by radiation. But the creator's like, no, I just Bikini Bottom. Get it, bottom, your butt, genitals. Get it? No, he didn't say that, but...
Well, I like to put my fan theories into episodes of Renegade Cunt, so I did want a couple of ones. I did a couple of ones that would dealt with Star Trek, in that, like, how Star Wars is in Star Trek. It's a Cardassian novel, which the episode is called Star Wars: The Repetitive Epic.
So watch it and then totally suggest that IO9 should link to it.
Yeah,
because your stuff is literally IO9 bait, like really.
Yeah, that sort of one should be on IO9 or Cracked or something. I'm waiting for someone a Crack to do an article ripping that video off so I can complain about it.
There you go.
Other one.
But don't complain to your man who I like.
I'm not complaining.
I like him. He's like
Daniel O'Brien.
Yeah, like if I was a boy and a bit funnier, I'd be Daniel O'Brien.
Well, I'm not.
If you're listening, write the show.
I'm not going to complain about it. I'll complain literally on Twitter about it.
That's like what I say at work. Well, I can't complain. I mean, I can complain, and I will, but I shouldn't.
You know what I mean.
Yes, I know what you mean.
My other Star Trek ones, there was the Borg Farmers, which I didn't come up with, but I thought was so good. It was the idea that the reason the Federation doesn't get destroyed by the Borg, because they can clearly do it, and why are they, defeated by such ridiculous things, is because the Borg, to a certain extent, are doing theatrics with the Federation. They're basically trying to scare them into coming up with new technology for them to assimilate. Because the Borg find it really difficult to invent new shit.
I actually think that's a really, really well justified kind of fan theory.
Yeah, that's one of the best fan theories I ever read. And but it's so unfamous that I felt the need to put it into a Renegade Cunt. Like, generally, Renegade Cunt has only got my theories. That's the one exception so far. I was going to do one on Darth Jar Jar, but I was like, no, it's not my theory, so I'm not going to do it. But this one, but Darth Jar Jar is more well known, so it doesn't need me. That one. The other two for that from the Star Trek video were the Treaty of Alderaan between Romulus and the Federation is actually a non-proliferation treaty involving the Genesis device. And the third one is why there's so many humans in Starfleet.
I know a lot about that episode because I did the sound editing on it. So
yeah, but basically with that one, there's not an amazing amount of humans in Star Trek in Starfleet. There's just a lot of humans on the ships that we can see that we spend time on because there's a bunch of different ships which have different environmental controls for different types of races, like maybe ones that have really cold or have nitrogen air or whatever.
Well, I have a fan theory, and this is kind of embarrassing because it's like an older kind of fan theory, but so when I was little, right, I loved Sesame Street. I would watch Sesame Street all the time. And so one of the things, and again, you're probably too young, but Google it and you'll find out the case, that Snuffleupagus used to be invisible. Only Big Bird was able to see Snuffleupagus. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those kinds of things where, like, he was always just leaving as someone else was just coming. And one of the humans would be like, hey, Big Bird, were you just talking to yourself just now? And it's like, no, Snuffleupagus was just here. And like, of course he was, Big Bird. Of course he was. And so, like, I had this idea that, like, Snuffleupagus was, like, some kind of, like, really intimidating bad guy. And, like, but he had no reason to hate Big Bird, so they were friends. But then, like, people would see him and they'd be like, oh, shit, there goes Snuffleupagus. Oh, no, I ain't see nothing. And, like, that's how Snuffy wanted it. But at a certain point, and I remember reading about this because I was reading, it was part of it was research for a different episode of What Went Right, which I really need to get back to this summer. But they decided to do away with that and make Snuffleupagus, visible to everyone because they were really worried that it promoted the idea that if as you, a child, are trying to tell adults something, you may be telling the truth and the adults won't believe you. And they kind of wanted to shy away from that. Because they didn't want kids to think that, oh, I can't tell an adult this about a thing that happened because they might not believe me. Because here's the thing. Like, Snuffleupagus he looks like a mammoth. He looks like a woolly mammoth. You would never expect to see a woolly mammoth, right? Like, so what if something horrible happened to a child? It's like, here I'm thinking, what if they were like, sexually assaulted? And they go and they tell an adult, well, that's ridiculous. What are you talking about? And so, like, I know it's kind of a stretch, but that's the parallel that they were drawing, is we don't want kids to be afraid to tell adults something under the fear that they're not going to believe them, especially about something like abuse.
That makes sense. And
so I was like, all right, fair enough. But I like my fan theory that he was some kind of, like, mob boss enforcer.
The other famous fan theories that I like, it's completely ridiculous, but, well, there's two. There's the idea that Edward Norton in Fight Club is actually a grown-up Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes, and Tyler Durden is Hobbes.
I think, watch out, because Bill Watterson is Sue Happy, so...
Well, no, someone came up with this.
No,
I think it's an amusing...
Actually, no, I don't mean Sue Happy. He has gone to great lengths to defend and to keep his intellectual property how he intends it. And actually, you know what? Fair play on him.
Well, I didn't come up with that. I just read it. I thought it was pretty funny. Right. The other one is that Kevin McAllister from Home Alone 1 and 2 grew up to be Jigsaw from Saw.
I like that. That's fantastic. didn't know there were so many Home Alone movies. I think it was Lupa was tweeting
like
about
4 or
it.
5.
I just remember there being 2.
Well, they were the ones with Macaulay Culkin, and then they had new kids in the ones afterwards. I think they might actually be set in a different continuity.
Well, I remember my mom taking me and my sister, and I think it was Aunt Phyllis went, and it was some of the cousins. I think a few of Helen's wee friends. There was a whole bunch of us. I remember because I got great flavored nerds. But it was around Christmas, and we went to go see it at the one in off Route 1. You know you don't know. You're not from my country.
I don't know anything.
We went to go see it in the AMC that was up Route 1. But anyway, it really fucked my sister up for like a few days. Because she was little. Like, I don't remember what year it came out, but she's 5 years younger than me. So
came
like
out in like 1990.
So she would have been like 5 or 6. But like it was the idea that a mother would forget their child. You know, and of course, if you've ever seen Home Alone, I mean, there's a lot of like mitigating factors to why it happened. But that idea so terrified her. Like, and she kept asking my mom, how could a mother do that? How could she not know? And, like, we never, like, I know that, like, you know, it's not uncommon to get accident left behind. Like, my Uncle Gary accidentally left Jessie behind one time. But, like, you know, and it wasn't anywhere bad. It was at Phyllis and Phil's at a thing. And so she wandered into the kitchen and, like, to have another cookie. And everyone's like, oh, do your parents tell her? And she's like, I don't know. And then 5 minutes later, they realized, and they came back and they picked Jessie up. But that never happened like to us. And this actually happened before Joanna was born, so I don't think she knew about it. But like that was quite traumatizing for her. The idea that a mother would forget their child.
Well, you know, the biggest mitigating factor when it comes to the Home Alone films, at least the first 2, is Macaulay Culkin's character is a cunt.
Everyone is a cunt, though. There are the only likable character in the first movie, as far as I'm concerned, is the old man.
Yeah, and then the old woman in the second one, and Tim Curry being fabulous.
I'm Tim Curry, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no one in that came off good. All of his siblings were assholes. His parents were dicks. Oh no, John Candy's character. He was a good guy too.
You know John Candy filmed all of his scenes for that film in one single day?
I think we saw a video about that, didn't we?
Yeah, he, just for the audience, apparently he came in and he filmed them all in like a 24-hour stretch.
Apparently he was really famous for overworking himself like that. I guess that's one of the things that...
With that one, I think it was because he only had a very limited amount of time between projects or something.
So he like pushed himself. I always did like John Candy. That's kind of too bad. But yeah, so John Candy and the old man were the only redeemable characters in the first Home Alone movie.
Would it count as a fan theory, the idea that various seasons of Red Dwarf are set in different parallel universes? Because that's what I subscribe to.
I can't say anything about that because I've only seen a few episodes of Red Dwarf.
Well, basically there is so much continuity errors between the series of Red Dwarf, and sometimes in the same episode, such maddening continuity errors, giant ones that... And there's so many parallel universes actually experienced in Red Dwarf, you know, they come across, that it's very, very, very sort of simple just to assume that, okay, this season is one parallel universe, and then, okay, then they go to another one at some point, we don't know where, but because they're not identical, but they're close enough for you to fudge it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, well, it was just a sitcom after all. You know.
Sitcom / sci-fi adventure.
So if you have a favorite fan theory, you know, by all means, write it down in the comments. Like, I steered away from, like, a lot of the creepypasta ones that pop up and everyone, like, every kid from Recess was actually dead and it was Purgatory. Every kid in Hey Arnold was actually dead and it was Purgatory. Oh, everyone in Ed, and Eddie was actually dead and it was Purgatory.
What about the one in Rugrats where all the babies were imagined by Angelica? Because
I hadn't heard that one.
That all the kids...
She was, like, psychotic.
That she had a stillborn brother and it traumatized her. It was something along those lines. I can't remember the exact details.
I mean, there's just some creepy stuff about Rugrats. Like, we know that Chucky's mother is dead. Mm. Like, I don't know if it's ever explained why, like, well, how she died, but we do know that she's dead. I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff that, like, okay, that's a cool thing. I see where you're going, but that whole thing, like, every character's actually dead and it's Purgatory. Just seems to get resurrected for every single kid's show.
But every character in Star Wars is dead and is in Purgatory.
Except for when it's lost.
Lord of the Rings is based on Das Kapital.
One of the comments in the most recent thread on Reddit, about fan theories was that the one girl, I forget the girl's name, I didn't watch much Hey Arnold, but her mother's an alcoholic. And they're like, oh, because she's always having smoothies and there's always this and always that. And someone said, well, actually, I saw an interview with the creator and he said, yeah, that's what he intended. And he actually wanted to make it pretty blatant, but Nickelodeon said, no, smoothies. But yeah, that's what he intended. And there's an episode about, like, Vietnam, apparently, where, like, this one kid's dad was, like, kind of always bagged on for being boring and weak and stuff like that. And they meet a vet at the wall who was Special Forces, who was, he and his platoon were gunned down, and the boring dad, like, saved his life. And, like, people were like, that was the most meaningful episode. And one guy was like, that actually changed my outlook on war. And I was like, wow.
Dun, dun, dun.
But yeah, so like I said, if you have a really favorite fan theory or just one that you've come up with, comment below.
Yeah, it's always fascinating reading, even if you don't agree with them.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, people think about things. But...
You know, Transformers are actually made of potato.
No.
What?
Potato candy. But anyway,
I don't know, there's no other way to explain Beast Machines.
I remember Beast Machines. So anyway, what did we watch this week?
We watched Thin Ice because we're about a week behind on Doctor Who because Omega's like, I'm working so hard, I'm playing Dragon Age so hard, and drinking so hard, and running around so hard that we have no time for Doctor Who.
Well, no, it was just because the dissertation was due this week, and so I actually turned mine in on Wednesday, and it was due on Friday, so then of course we had to go out forever at the pub, and now I have to study for finals, so yeah.
Originally we were going to do 2 episodes of Doctor Who and just make this a whole Doctor Who episode, but then she's like, I want to do fan theories.
I was like, let's talk about fan theories. We had some good crack today at the shop about it.
Although, looking at the next one's the Haunted House one, which we haven't seen yet, and then the one after that is like Dead Bodies in Space. So, if we don't think of another subject, those 2 back to back will be good because it's going to be 2 horror episodes.
That's true. But I gotta say, I really, really love Bill. Like, I think she's what Rose could have been, but wasn't.
Yeah, Rose, but much better.
Yeah. Like, I mean...
We've got no fucking destiny shit. We've got no sort of hint at sort of attraction. We've got no getting random skills or anything. She's just a regular person who's going on adventures with the Doctor, which is what the companion's meant to be.
Yeah. And you got your closest thing to a historical.
To a pure historical.
To a pure historical in a while.
Yeah, a pure historical is a term used in Classic Who for a story where the only science fiction elements of the historical are the Doctor, the companion, and the sonic screwdriver and the TARDIS. There's no aliens. And
well, this wasn't an alien, though.
Well, it's not just aliens, it's things that don't actually exist in reality.
Okay, fair enough.
So this was almost there because you've got basically this giant monster, which they don't know where it came from. I would imagine that it's probably Silurian in origin.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was.
It's been like asleep since then.
It was asleep, or it was an egg or something, and it was somehow survived, or some guy got access to one of the Silurian bunkers and they found it, or something. That's what I'm thinking.
But it was really, really good, and it's kind of sad that like this could be one of the best seasons of New Who. And we're losing Peter Capaldi, and we may be losing Bill.
Yeah, it's like, I would love to see Capaldi sort of yell at Moffat, being like, this is what we could have had in Series 9. God fucking damn it.
Oh, I hated Clara.
Like, cause it's just like...
Bill could have, like, punched her.
Yeah. Is this like Russell T Davies' 4th series, wherever he had all these ideas that he was convinced wouldn't work, and he threw them in there because he knew he was quitting, he was leaving, and they turned out to be some of the best episodes he did, like Midnight and Turn Left. Could it be that this is just all the stuff that Moffat thought he couldn't do, and he's like, I don't care anymore, and they turned out to be good?
It's really excellent, and I mean, I was really... Okay. I've talked before about my thing with Captain Planet, but if you've never heard me rant about it before, I really dislike how bad guys have evil motives. Like, it's never like, wow, if I dump this nuclear waste in a town park in secret, I'll be saving millions of dollars in state, federal, and local tariffs that I would have to pay for lawful disposal of this waste. It's always like, I'll show those bluebirds! You know, like, I don't like villainy for no reason. And your man here was like, well, I could be mining coal, but this is a lot easier and a lot more efficient and better. And I'm like, no, monetarily speaking, for 1814, If you have a power source that burns 1,000 times more efficient, hotter, and brighter than anything that's available, yeah, of course you're going to use that. And he was like, I'm helping to forward the empire. That's perfect British thinking or English thinking.
It's the only problem is with what you've described is that 1814 the British Empire was not at its height yet.
No,
it wasn't going to.
Oh, that's true. It hadn't gone through the.
It hadn't got India or anything like that. It becomes its height like 1840-ish.
No, it hadn't had the whole Renaissance. The try to the reimagining of England.
Yeah, it's so the theme of empire and stuff like that. Although the empire existed, it wasn't as meaningful having it in this story as it would have had in one set later on. But the Frost Fair, there wasn't one after 1814, so they have to fudge things.
Yeah.
The only other problem was if you need to get large things of meat to be given to this thing in order for it to shit out ultra cool, what you could have just done is buy old horses, which are going to be slaughtered anyway.
Yeah.
Throw them in. They're bigger than a human. They wouldn't cost very much, and it'd be legal. The only problem I can see with that is people would wonder why he's throwing horses into the Thames.
Or it could have been a thing that you were right about it being a Silurian kind of thing, and it evolved. When did the Silurians exist in cohabitation with humans at any point?
Silurians were roughly a little bit after the dinosaurs. But not humans. Closer to the dinosaurs than humans. Humans were not around.
So it's going to be maybe they fed it humans and it specifically evolved to eat humans.
Yeah, that's not. The humans to Silurians were basically sort of unevolved mammals.
But it also didn't make clear what it eats when it's not winter, or maybe maybe it only awakens during winter. I don't know.
He said that. People die. People, drown in the Thames. People.
Oh, that's true.
So when it's not frozen, there's actually a fairly consistent supply of people coming.
Oh, I see. That's why he had to keep it fed during the fair.
Yeah, that.
Oh, okay.
At least that was the impression I got.
Okay, I misunderstood that. And I know that I was actually quite surprised. I didn't see people whinging about the SJWs and Doctor Who.
Oh, I saw people whinge about that.
Oh, I guess I wasn't really watching enough Twitter then. Because I was like, how he's like, oh, welcome to Regency England. And she's like, yeah, that part where I'm black. And he's like, oh, well, put on a nice dress.
The only issue I had...
No one will notice.
Because the Doctor rightly pointed out that history is whitewashed because, there's been black people in England since before it was called England. But my only issue is that, Bill makes a comment about slavery. Which slavery, yes, did exist at that point. Slavery still exists today. Mm-hmm. It just depends on where you are. Slavery did not exist in England, Scotland, Wales, or Ireland in 1814.
She might not have known that, though.
Yeah, but the Doctor would. So the Doctor, she said, slavery still exists. And the Doctor agrees that it does. It's not in the country they're in.
That's true.
Because, slavery exists today. By some estimates, there's more people being enslaved right now than there were in the middle of the 19th century.
That's true.
So, that was one issue I had. It's a bit American-centric to suggest, slavery's a big deal in 1814.
Well, remember that episode of Bone Kickers where they were like, it will be a racial incident because of slaves. Except there weren't slaves there at that time.
Yeah, I only discovered the thing about the Somerset's case after I made that episode of Bone Kickers. Otherwise, I could have actually put that into the narrative of explaining why Bone Kickers was so fucking stupid.
It's engorging racial tensions. Engorging's a bad word to use there, but... if you're actually new to us, you should totally go back and watch Hagan's Bone Kickers episode by episode, because you did that way early in your career.
Yeah, that was...
Your voice is more dairy.
Then or now?
Yeah, then. I think that was a wee bit more. You've picked up some of my accent.
Oh, no.
Do you know, I was at work today, and this guy was like, people always don't say, where are you from? They're like, where's that accent from? As though, it came here by itself.
It flew over a visitor visa.
It did. And I was not as bad as the old lady who asked me if I was on holiday, as I was ringing her up at the till, and I was like, no. That was a shitty holiday, wouldn't it? But, no, so the guy's like, oh, where's that accent from? I said, Philadelphia. He goes, why? I was like, excuse me? He's like, why are you here? Why would you come here? And I didn't even say anything. He goes, don't tell me it was for a man. Don't tell me a man dragged you all the way over here and told you he'd make a life for you. I was like, no, it wasn't, sir. Actually, it was a girl. And the guy who was working with, he's like, Befall. He just was not even gonna try not to laugh. The guy's like, that's cool too. I said, actually, and also for uni, but like, that's what you get for trying to be snotty. And it's terrible too, because all the weird ladies will be like, oh, I hope you catch you a wee dairy man before you go, dear. And I'm like, okay, ma'am, have a good day. But yeah.
Well, this one, yeah, it's the same with the last two episodes. I don't think any of them have been A-list episodes, but there's been definitely they've not been shit.
Mm-hmm.
They've been generally quite good. Not good enough for me to list in a second volume of good episodes of New Who, but definitely nowhere near bad enough to review.
I like the interplay between the Doctor and Bill.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
And I think he kind of looked a little bit upset and disappointed that so soon into her being his companion, they got to the, yeah, people die. Have you killed people? Yeah, lots of people. Do you care about it? Anyway. You know, because I think it's been a bit for each of the companions before that moment of...
That depends on the companion and the same story. Generally, in Classic Who, it didn't really come up. They're just like, we're going on adventures. Oh, look, the Doctor's melting people with heat lamps. Second Doctor actually did do that.
Although I was waiting for her when she was, how many have you killed? I was waiting for him to go, millions. But then I took it back. Wow, the moment! Fa. Is that your
I'm proud.
Okay. But no, I really enjoyed it. It was a good episode. The only thing I didn't like was how really like the three main orphans were the kid that dies and the two wee girls, and then your random kid's like, guess what? You're the new Lord Sutcliffe. I really wanted her to like go to Google Images and find a portrait of him with the wee black girl Kitty all grown up and they're married.
That would have been good.
That would have been really cool.
But having the little boy being one of the main orphans rather than like an extra orphan.
Yeah, that would have
been. See, this is what I'm talking about, like in the first episode when I was talking about having the Chips girl and the Eye girl being different characters. Why? This is the same sort of thing. These two characters should have been united. They should have used the boy as, say, the girl who was yelling at the end to get off the ice. That's where the boy should have come in. Yeah. That it's just narratively more neat.
Yeah. No, that was a little bit of poor writing, but you know.
You know, it's going out for more realistic. Writing in that reality is not neat. You know, it's like it's a little bit Game of Thrones in that way. You know, not massively, but Game of Thrones has so many people doing they're doing their plans, they're doing things, and suddenly they die with no pomp or circumstance. Mm. But it doesn't quite work in the 45-minute thing.
No, that's true. That's true. But I mean, like I so far I can't find fault with it. Nardole still pisses me the fuck off. I really want to punch him. Oh, he's such a prick. He looks like a prick too. A small prick. Uncircumcised prick.
And the villain was... we both recognized him. Now, I looked at his IMDb, and I did not spot anything that Omega would recognize him from, so I have no idea. But I
think I've seen him in something. It wasn't something I was paying attention to. Because when I saw him the first time, I said, that guy looks like a fatter David Mitchell. He does. His face, not like his body. His face looks like a fatter David Mitchell. Just saying.
But I recognized him from Nathan Barley, which was by Charlie Brooker and Chris Morris. Chris Morris does the Day-to-Day and Brass Eye, and Charlie Brooker obviously does
everything,
Black Mirror and stuff. But they worked together on this sitcom. It was in many ways it was ahead of its time, which I remember watching at the time, not being very enthused by it. But thinking back, it's done a lot of things ahead of its time. In that it wasn't filmed like a sitcom; it was filmed like a sort of an indie type film. There's no laugh track, and it's set in a internet sort of company full of twats.
It sounds like a British Curb Your Enthusiasm.
It might be, but
I can't stand Curb Your Enthusiasm, by the way. Just
I want to re-watch Nathan Barley, you know, with the 10 years of distance, just to see if I get it more than I did in 2005.
Fair enough. The internet's changed a lot in the past.
Especially considering I am one of those twats who makes a living on the internet.
Yeah, you're not a twat.
Oh, some people say I am. They're allowed to.
Well, fair enough. But yeah, no, I mean, and the trailer for next one looks good. And I didn't realize it was David Suchet. The episode that aired last night with white hair. So my mom has a crush on him still from his time as Poirot. So I had to email my dad and be like, tell Mom to watch it on BBC America this week. It's David Suchet. And it just always weirds me out to hear him speak with his natural accent, because the 2 times I've seen him, mostly, he's been either speaking with a Belgian accent, or that time he was a terrorist on the plane.
What was that one on the plane?
Oh, I forget, but it was on a plane, and he was some kind of Iranian terrorist, and he had this gun that he assembled, like from bits.
Oh.
And he was part of like a whole bunch of them. And they, if you know what I'm talking about, write the show. Oh, you'll Google it afterwards.
Probably.
You know. But yeah, my mom, she has a crush on David Suchet and Pierce Brosnan, and Dean Richard Anderson.
Bruce Boxleitner.
And Bruce Boxleitner, yes. A lot of the people that your mum has a crush on.
Yeah, my mum has crushes on the same sort of guy, although not David Suchet or Richard Anderson.
Oh, well, what are you going to do? But yeah, I mean, so...
How does your mum feel about Colin Firth?
I'll have to ask.
Because my mum likes some Colin Firth.
Oh. Old ladies and their crushes. But yeah, no, I mean...
It could be much worse. She, you know... Our parents could like Daniel O'Donnell.
Is that the one your mum likes but your dad hates?
No, my parent does not. Neither of my parents like Daniel O'Donnell.
Who's the one that she likes? The
Russell
singer.
Watson.
That's it.
Daniel O'Donnell is like an Irish, very, very aging pop star, sort of like Irish Cliff Richard, but more embarrassing.
I don't really know who Cliff Richard is. I only have heard Mark Steele slag him off. So
Cliff Richard is he started off as a mainstream rock pop star in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kept going, doing the same sort of thing. And his audience got older and older and older. And he's evangelical Christian, and the evidence seems to suggest that he's a closeted gay guy.
So he's like an evil Barry Manilow.
No, more like Pat Boone. If he wasn't an openly asshole.
Oh, I was like, oh, it's just come out that Barry Manilow is gay, and I'm like, what? We already know that. Like, have you ever had that with a celebrity? Like, oh, this person's gay, or this, something like that. You're like, I thought we knew that, didn't we? Or like when someone dies, you're like, I thought they died years ago. I remember. Mandela effect. Mandela. But yeah, so it was a good episode. I think this will be a really good season.
Well, so far it is. It's like a quarter of the way through.
Alright. But, you know what we should do before we end the episode? Mm-hmm. I've been looking at this book that's been sitting here. She has this book that says, Red Herrings and White Elephants, Origins of the Phrases We Use Every Day.
Yeah, this is a book that my father decided I should read through.
So what I'm going to do... Oh, wait, it's got an inscription in it. To Mum, happy birthday from all your boys, Seamus, Joseph, Fergus, and Tom. Tom Sweeney's. I guess the one son just wanted to write his last name so Mum knew. Yeah, so I guess Mum didn't love it very much because you probably got it at Oxfam.
Yeah, my dad picked this up from a charity shop.
Sorry, Mum, your boys don't love it. Or sorry, boys, your mum didn't want the book. But yeah, so I'm gonna say stop, and I'll flip through it, and we'll learn a phrase origin.
Okay.
Ready?
3, 2, 1, go.
You have to tell me stop.
Stop.
All right. The phrase "pull your finger out" is associated these days with encouraging someone to get a move on, hurry up, and complete a task more quickly. Like so many English phrases, it is of military or naval origin. Loaded cannons would have gunpowder poured into a small ignition hole and held in place with a wooden plug. But in times of battle, when speed was of the essence, the powder would be pushed in and held in place by a gun crew member using his finger. Jesus! Impatient auxiliarymen, anxious to fire their cannons at the enemy, would shout at the crew member to pull his finger out so the gun could be fired. It has not been recorded how many digits were lost on the battlefield.
Okay.
And we've all... Oh, this is a British one, so I'll have, like, those weird ones that you guys say. And I'm like, what?
Gadzooks.
That sure roasted his cock nostrils.
You Prince of Wales.
But anyway, so this has been episode 115. I have been the Omega Geek, and honey, who do you have on tab being this week?
The Prince of Wales.
Good luck with that.